Hey guys, welcome in. It's Marcy here. Time to wrap up our week 10 of 30 books in 30 weeks. So, as you guys are coming in, feel free to share the video out, invite some other people to join in. We're wrapping up this week's book, personal development series called Letting It Go, the language of letting go. And so, I really wanted to kind of bring this subject matter to a close. Hey, Nicole, wanted to bring the subject matter to a close. For those of you who are coming in, maybe don't know who I am, my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker. I'm an author and a reality-based success and recovery trainer. My specialty is curing emotional bankruptcy. One of the keys to that, learning how to let stuff go. Like, you can't keep holding on to old toxic stories, situations, and circumstances and expect to get healed, feel happy, or be whole ever again. So letting it go is a very important part of what I do as a reality-based success and recovery trainer. You know, it's all about really truly getting in touch with what is real versus what is the story that we tell ourselves. What's going on, Gillette? How are you? And then in addition to that, there's three things I want everyone to always know about me. Number one is I always live life on Mars, my world, my life, my rules. I am forever sold out to my happiness. That was the greatest gift I ever gave to myself, was to promise to let my happiness be my guiding light. And the third thing is that I love more than anything to help other women shine. And so I really dedicated all of this year to working with 1,000 women to help them truly discover and fully embrace what I call their star power. And in doing so, then that prepares them and gives them the tools in their toolbox to ignite the light for someone else. And one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that by me helping another person shine, it will never dim my light. The room only shines brighter. The universe shines brighter. It shines brighter upon us. And I did a tweet today, and I said, when you know what's within you, you never have to fear going without. And that's so true. Being comfortable with what's in you, what your abilities are, what your capacity is, what your mission is, what your purpose is so, so, so important. But to that, in order to get to that place, you got to do this. You got to let stuff go. Hey, Joy. Hey, Tisha. You got to let stuff go. You can't hold on to old stories. You can't hold on to fears, flaws, and failures from the past. You can't hold on to toxic relationships. You can't hold on to all of that stuff and then make room and expect something else to blossom. You block your own blessings when you don't let go of stuff that needs to be let go of. And so many times people say, well, you know, this, or this happened to me, and, you know, it's holding me back. It's keeping me from becoming. It's keeping me from doing. Because this happened, I can never. What's going on, Pamela Williams? Because this happened, I can't do this. Because that happened, I can't do that. Because this person said that. Right? Hey, Joy. Yes, happy daylight savings. So there are lots of things that we tell ourselves, and that's why reality-based living comes in, and it becomes, once you get it, it changes your life, because it's the story that you told yourself about that experience that you're holding on to. You're holding on to the story, right? So if you're holding on to that story, and how you framed your situation, how you framed your circumstance is going to be your reality. So if you framed it in such a manner that you tell yourself, because I was molested when I was 12, I'm never going to be in a happy relationship again, guess what? You won't be. If you tell yourself, because this person told me that I was never going to be nothing, so now I'm not ever going to be anything, guess what? You'll never be anything. Not because that's what they said, not because you were molested, hey Daedric, not because of any of those things. You won't ever be anything because that's the story you told yourself, and that's the amount of effort that you're going to put forth in your life. This is about you. It's your life. You get to decide. I told you guys at the beginning, my world, my life, my rules. Guess what goes along with that? My choices. It's my choices. Hey, Gregory. It's not about other people. It's always going to be about you. I did a video a few weeks ago where I was talking about whose business are you minding. There's 3 types of business: my business, your business, and God's business. The only business that you have control over is my business. That's what I have control over. What you have control over is your business. If I'm spending a whole bunch of my time invested in your business, guess what? My business never gets built. So if I'm attached to this story from a situation, circumstance, past fear, flaw, or failure that happened in the past, guess what? That's where I'm going to be stuck at. It's going to hold me in bondage. It's going to hold me hostage to that experience. It's going to hold me hostage to that story. And I will never be able to grow past it. Because the message I've told myself, that the reality of the fact of the matter is, that's where I'm at. That's all I can ever be. That has somehow limited my potential. And that's why I tweeted that today. It was really on my heart as I was thinking about bringing this subject matter and wrapping this up and landing the plane on this book. The language of letting go. The language of letting go says, one of the things people tell you, and that's why I titled this, about forgiveness, right? People say, forgive and let go. But guess what? That sounds great. Hey, Luana, it sounds great. But nobody ever tells you how to forgive. And if you don't have the tools in your toolbox to forgive, if nobody's told you how to forgive and all they said is forgive, but you're still stuck on that story about what happened to you 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 days ago, doesn't matter how long ago, if you're still stuck in that past place, doesn't matter how many times they tell you to forgive. If you don't have the tools, you cannot ever forgive. So I'm going to give you a tool for forgiveness. And this is something that I learned a few years ago, and it's included in one of my books. It's in Surviving the Rain to Find the Rainbow, which is a domestic violence survivor's guide. In order to forgive, something must die, right? And what I mean by that, and that's the message. So that's what I have to tell myself whenever I have to give forgiveness, because sometimes you're going to have to forgive someone who's not sorry. You're going to have to forgive people who are not apologetic. You're going to have to forgive for a situation that you never get closure to. You have to provide your closure through forgiveness. That's the only way you can let it go. So when I say to you, in order for forgiveness to take place, something must die. Guess what must die? Your attachment to that story. Your attachment to that experience. That's what has to die in order for forgiveness to take place. If you tell yourself, or someone tells you, well, you have to forgive so-and-so, but they don't tell you how. And every time you think about that person, you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to move on. Yes, bless and release. There you go. What you tell yourself is, I'm going to forgive them. And so you pray on it, you meditate on it, you do all the things that traditionally you may have heard to do, but you haven't changed your story or your attachment to that story or to that person. How hard is it to forgive? Quick example. My domestic violence relationship that ended in physical abuse, because there were multiple ones, so I'll say the one that ended in physical abuse. My therapist, so I went into therapy after that happened, because what I knew to be true was that I was the only common denominator in all those negative relationships, bad experiences, and hurtful choices, right? I was the only common denominator, which meant I was a problem. How I was thinking, how I was making decisions, how I was living my life had become problematic for me. And what I also knew to be true was that if I didn't make a change, if I didn't make a shift, then the next relationship, I might not get out of the house. I might not survive the abuse. Because what I had realized was that it was trending towards more and more damaging relationships. So I was in therapy, and I ended up ending my relationship with my therapist. When I tell you guys I cut off relationships, I cut off relationships. So I cut off the relationship with my therapist because I had done a whole lot of work on forgiveness, right? And I had truly forgiven him for his choices. The forgiveness work that I still had to do, I had forgiven him for being abusive to me. What I hadn't done, and the work that I was still working on, was forgiving myself for making the choice to put myself in that position, because I told you I'm very much reality based, and this is a survival tool for me, and it works. Surviving and recovery, like success and recovery, that's what it's about. Is about owning your mess, owning your choices, owning your decisions. So the work that I still had to do was to forgive myself for putting myself in that position, right? I have forgiven him for his abuse, because what I understood was I cannot stay attached to his choice because I have no control over it. That meant I would be minding his business, right? I can only mind my business. I can only control my business. I can only manage my business. So in order for me to let that go, let him go, let that situation go, let that experience go, it required that I forgive the abuse. Not to say that it's right, not to suggest by any stretch that no matter what I did or didn't do, or he thought I did, or he thought I didn't do, or I did well enough, or I didn't do well enough, I didn't deserve that. That much I knew. So the therapist said to me, she said, well, you don't seem very angry. And I said, well, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed that it happened. I'm disappointed that I was in that position. It didn't feel very good, but I'm not angry all these months later. And it was maybe about 4 or 5 months later, 6 months. And so I had already done some healing work, and I wasn't angry anymore. I really, truly had forgiven him. I was working on forgiving myself. And so she goes down this path about how, well, then I must feel like I deserved it. No, I didn't deserve it. I know that for a fact, 100%. I know that. And she continues on this subject matter into the next session, where she's still trying to convince me that anger would serve me and that I needed to somehow find this angry place. And I said, listen, I've worked really hard to stop being angry. I've worked really hard to understand that my anger keeps me attached to him. My anger will keep me being a victim. My anger will hold that victim mentality. That's not the space I want to be in. I never want to be in that place ever again. I know how that felt. I don't ever want to be there again. I want to be in a position of power. I want to be in a position of control. So for me to allow my anger, while I'm sitting here angry, you want me to sit here and be angry? He's out living his life. He's in the club. He's out dating. He's out doing what the hell he wants to do. But you want me to sit in here on your couch and pay you money to be angry so you can tell me that I shouldn't be angry. But now that I'm not angry, you tell me that I should be angry. I said, well, thank you for your services. I appreciate your time. I won't be seeing you anymore. And I meant that. And I never went back. And I did the work on me to let it go. I had to heal and reconcile with my choices. But in order for me to do any of that, I had to let the attachment to the experience go. I had to forgive. In order to do that, I had to let that story I told myself die. That somehow his choice had anything to do with me. It didn't. It was a personal decision on his part. And so I had to let that story die. And so that's the tool that I use when it comes to forgiveness. And that's the tool that I have in my toolbox. You cannot expect, yes, healing you, exactly right, Joy. You cannot expect for people to feel bad for what they did. If you rely on someone else's apology, regret, sympathy, if you're waiting for any of that before you heal, baby, it's going to be a long, miserable road for you. You've got to let it go. And the only way that you can let it go, the language of letting go, is through forgiveness. But you have to know how to forgive. You have to have a tool in your toolbox. So when you think about someone that you have to forgive, a situation that you have to forgive, a wrong that's been done against you, or that you feel has been done against you, because whether it was right or wrong, if you feel that it was, then it was wrong, right? You have to detach from the story. You have to let that story die, and you have to give it a new story. You have to reframe something else to it, right? That's the only way that you can forgive. And when people say that forgiveness is freedom, I'm a testimony. I'm a testimony to it. But the other thing you have to never be able, you have to get to a place where what you never do is withhold forgiveness as punishment. Because as much as you'd like to believe that by you not forgiving them that they're somehow suffering, I'm here to tell you, just like my abuser, they are going on with their life, with or without you, baby. That's real talk. When I talk about being a reality-based trainer, that's what I'm talking about. Be real about it. Don't deceive yourself and say, well, I'm not gonna forgive them. Hey, David, I'm not gonna forgive them because I'm gonna make them suffer. They're not suffering. The only one really still thinking about it is you. And if you're still thinking about it, you have not exercised forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a punishment. Forgiveness is you holding yourself hostage. For not forgiving, unforgiveness is bondage. Release it, let it go, and move the hell on. That's what you can do, but you have to know how to forgive. So hopefully that tool will help you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I appreciate you all for joining in, for participating, for chiming in, for sharing it out. All of that, most of all, I thank you for living life on Mars with me. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk soon.